Welcome back. Right now, we're honored to have recruiter guy Bill Humbert right here live in studio. It's been many months since we've seen him here. Bill, it's great to have you here on the set live.
Under the lights, it's amazing.
It is amazing, and it's great to be able to see people, have you in person. Of course, we also enjoy our virtual interviews. We're doing a hybrid now, but it's very nice, nonetheless, to have you here.
Oh, thank you, Christine. It's great to be back.
And I'm excited about our topic today. It's interesting that we haven't discussed this before, but we're kind of going back to basis, and I want to focus on, when do you need a recruiter?
Well, so the question is probably better, not when do you need a recruiter, it's when to build a relationship with a recruiter. And unfortunately, when I'm coaching people on finding a job, they come to me and they're out of work already, and they're saying, well, how do I get a recruiter? It's too late. You need to have that relationship built through your career and find somebody who's been around for a while.
I think maybe this isn't as common as I believe, but it seems like maybe a lot of people don't think about getting a recruiter until they're out of a job, and that's frankly too late. It
is. You know, as a recruiter, and I did contingent recruiting for 12 years, and that's all I did. And it was all fee-based. And I built relationships with the candidates. They may not have been interested in moving just then, but what I did was build a relationship with them, and sometimes I would come and call them up a whole year later and say, I found that job that you said that you were looking for. And nearly every single time they interviewed and went to that job. So they were taking charge of their career.
So if you have any inclination that you want to make a different step, or you have career dreams to go somewhere else, then you should reach out.
You should. And you know, everybody should reach out and learn who the recruiters are and learn something about them and determine who's the person that I trust, male or female, to serve me the best.
So how do you find a good recruiter that's right for you?
We're everywhere. Well, you know, one place obviously is on LinkedIn, right? Because LinkedIn got as big as it did because us recruiters were out there early on saying, source of candidates. So LinkedIn is a good place, but you know, what's even better is to talk to friends of yours and just say, hey, confidentially, do you know any good recruiters that maybe I should speak with? And that's how you find them.
And what questions should you ask a potential recruiter? Because it's important, not that it's a two-way relationship. So you need to make sure that you're right for the recruiter and the recruiter is right for you.
Exactly. What I suggest you do is, number one, it's important to learn about that recruiter, their experience, the industry and fields that they work in. And you know, maybe they don't work in your industry or your field. Ask them who is a good recruiter that they would recommend that you contact, number one. Number two, if you're in the process of looking for a job and you're talking to a recruiter, it's really important to set some ground rules, because sometimes what happens is you have these recruiters that just spray your resume everywhere, and that's the worst thing that can happen. So take charge of that process.
And when you're applying for a job, are employers, do they see things differently when you have a recruiter or not?
It depends on the company. So my relationship with the Washington Post was, I never even knew the name of the HR person. Never knew their name. I worked directly with the IT manager. And the IT manager would call me when he had an opening and say, hey, Bill, I've got an opening. And back in the 80s, when I was recruiting for the Post, there was no glass ceiling for women. Katharine Graham was the publisher. And women, the smart women, loved to go to work for the Washington Post in IT because they knew they could progress as high as they were able. And there was one time, one quick story. I met at the Washington Post, met Dave, and he actually gave me a tour of their printing presses and everything back then. They were in DC. And then I left to go back to my office in Gaithersburg, Maryland. And I was between the Metro and Washington Post, I stopped at a restaurant, had lunch, overheard a woman being interviewed by another recruiter, and she had everything the Post wanted, everything. And so I thought, well, if this guy ever gets up, I'm going to introduce myself. I did. She sent me her resume. Next day she had an interview with the Post. They extended her an offer. So magic can happen if you make yourself available.
Oh, I love that. That's really an inspiring, that's a great story, and you have to work for it. So any other tips when you're having these first conversations with recruiters for people that are, interested in networking and maybe finding another position at some point?
Well, I suggest that you talk to the recruiter and say, hey, can we touch base maybe every 6 months? I'm not really interested in making a move right now. I'm kind of where I want to be. But 6 months from now, a year from now, I may want to make a change. It's important to take charge of your career. Too many people are like jellyfish, and they're just going, doo, 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 just floating in the currents of their current company. And then they end up getting laid off because they're not growing. People who take charge of their career rarely get laid off.
And that's really a great message. Important to take charge of your career, make sure you're in control of that. Really great advice, Bill. I have one of your previous books here.
Yes.
But I'd love to hear an update on this next book that's coming out soon.
Well, first of all, Employee 5.0, I misnamed that. That was my fault. It should have been Employee 5.0, Take Charge of Your Career. We'll fix that on edition 2. My next book is Expect Success, The Science of the Over 50 Career Search. And that one is with Dorrance Publishing right now. The page designer is currently working with it, and I expect that to come out of that process here pretty quickly. And then it'll be going into the next step. And originally they thought August, but I think they've got a kind of a backlog of books that they're doing. And I'm thinking end of August, September, hopefully.
Oh, very much looking forward to that. And another shout out for this book. There's a great chapter in here that discusses exactly what we're talking about today.
Exactly. And that is a really good book for anybody. It even has a chapter in it for college students. So if you have somebody who's a freshman, sophomore, junior in college, pick up the book for them and just say, hey, I want you off my payroll pretty soon.
Where can we find out more about you, connect with you, and also get your books?
RecruiterGuy.com is a good place to get me. My contact information is there. I make it easy for people to reach out, and my books are and will be all on there.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Bill. Always a pleasure speaking with you, and even more wonderful to have you here in studio.
Thank you, Christine.
All right, make sure you find out more about Bill Humbert. You can pick up his books, head online, recruiterguy.com. We're once again very grateful to have him here in studio today and enjoyed this discussion about when you need a recruiter and how to take charge of your career. We'll be back with more right after this.